almost an advantage at times. Like Coach Ferentz likes two-sport athletes.
He does.
You like two-sport athletes. Like you know, I'm not gonna say the kid's name, but like I think my dad went to a baseball game the other day for a recruit. Like that, you know, it's like that.
Right.
That it's cool.
You do.
You're well-rounded, like you said earlier.
I like people that are involved in the band or playing an instrument or involved in, you know, a musical production at their high school. I just like well-rounded people.
Shout out Luka playing the viola.
Yeah. Exactly.
Luka Garza
exactly.
on the viola player.
You know, and because it shows a broader ability to, you know, incorporate all their skills and things. And I just think, you know, like Coach Ferentz, he likes wrestlers. He likes basketball players. He likes athletes. He likes people that run track. You know, there's a number of baseball players that I think, you know, are playing both football and baseball. And it's exceptionally tough, you know, to try to play two sports at this level. But yet you have to admire, you know, the guys that can do it like yourself. And
Yo, Kono with the rebound, they got 8 seconds to go. Move the ball right up the court, yeah, you know they ready to roll. Hit the outlet pass to Patrick, put a move on them so tragic. Yeah, you don't want no static, McCaffery boys, they be like magic. This shit back to Kono, yeah, you know these boys is hooping. Hit him with the alley, yeah, you know he straight up hooped it. Now Patrick's hanging on the rim, yeah, he's got his feet up. Excessive celebration, McCaffery boys, they done got teed up. Oh man, they got teed up.
Want to upgrade your sports drink? Choose Body Armor, the #1 natural sports drink for athletes. Body Armor combines coconut water with potassium-packed electrolytes and vitamins to provide superior hydration. Ditch artificial and come on board to natural flavors and sweeteners. It's more than a sports drink, it's a lifestyle. Proudly sponsored by Atlantic Coca-Cola Bottling Company. Diamond Ridge Construction is a family and locally owned and operated company. Diamond Ridge does roofing, siding, and gutters. Diamond Ridge was awarded the best construction and roofing company in Iowa City. They have never received a review lower than 5 stars. They do quality and efficient work for a customer-friendly price. They do work in the Johnson County area, but are open to expanding. If you're interested in seeing some of their work, visit www.diamondridgeiowa.com.
Some of those pictures are really cool. They do houses of all sizes and have done some massive complexes. They are open weekdays from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. For a free estimate, call 319-800-7663. Again, that's 319-800-7663.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 17 of Teed Up. We have a very, very special guest here, Coach Kirk Speraw. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We're excited. You're a legend in the state of Iowa, without a doubt. But
I don't know about that.
I think you are. But you also, ever since we've moved here, you've been a staple in both Patrick and I's life, and we're really happy to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, pleasure to be here. It's been awesome coaching you guys and watching you grow up, really, because we came here 12 years ago. You weren't the men that you are now.
Right.
And it's been fun watching you guys grow into the men that you are, and, you know, both on the court and off the court. So, and you guys doing this is great for you guys, and so it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. No, we've definitely had fun with it. But you said it's been fun coaching us. Is that, what are you referring? Is that like, is it fun coaching Patrick on the defensive side of the ball? Like,
dude, you bring up my defense every episode.
I'm using it as motivation, bro.
It's really
like,
not
to
that
next year.
bad.
I'm using
not
it.
That bad.
I'm trying to get it in your head.
All I do is stay down about every 6 seconds. Stay down.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
and that's good.
That's about the extent of my coaching of Patrick on defense. So
we can harp on my athleticism too if you want. Like, it's not like I'm out
then
jumping anybody.
In coaching you, it's got to be don't foul. You know.
That's
with
true.
Your defense.
I do. No,
but you remind me of like Matt Gatens, and you guys kind of responded defensively in the same way. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really ever have to challenge you to play hard defensively, but we did real early with Matt. You know, when that was our first year here. Yeah. And Matt turned into just the hardest working guy every day in practice and really competing hard. But defensively, specifically, you guys really were physical defenders. You know, you were smart. You anticipated what was going to happen on cuts or anticipated post-ups, and you guys kind of had the same build, and you utilized that to your advantage, you know, and but you guys were exceptionally physical, both of you defensively.
Yeah, no, but you're right. That does lead to too much fouling at times. At times for me, and I can admit that. But we'll get back into some of that stuff. I want to start off with kind of your early playing career. You were a big time baseball player as well. A lot of people, a big time pitcher, shortstop, right? So
played both of those in high school,
so I want to talk about that, and then also your basketball and what it took, what got you to the University of Iowa, Sioux City legend and native.
Well, I was born in Sioux City. My dad was a coach, so I grew up. He was the head guidance counselor at the old Central High School, which then North High School was a new high school right when I was a freshman in high school, actually a sophomore. We didn't even have freshmen in high school. It was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade in the junior high, and then your first year in high school was as a sophomore.
Interesting.
And so, you know, he was in the education side of it. His dad actually was a baseball manager in the minor leagues. He was a minor league player. He was like on a roster on a major league team for like one day.
Yeah.
But he was the manager of the old Cedar Rapids Bunnies.
The Bunnies?
The Bunnies.
Okay.
So, so my dad grew up in Cedar Rapids, and you know, but that's kind of where I got into athletics and sports. And in high school, I played 4 different sports. I played football, basketball, ran track in the spring, and in Iowa, baseball as a summer sport. So I could play baseball and after that. So then, yeah, I was just, you know, trying to decide. You know, I thought I could play both sports, but really kind of zeroed in on wanting to play at a high level. And I wasn't really recruited at that high level, but I really, really admired Coach Olson at Iowa, and Maury John was at Iowa State kind of when I was a younger guy. So I thought, okay, I really like Maury John. But then he had a cancer issue, and him passed away, so they had a new coach there. But I really liked Coach Olson. I said, okay, I want to come to Iowa. So I came as a walk-on, and he invited me as a walk-on, and you know, I came in and played as a freshman, and then played baseball as a freshman too. But then it came around sophomore year, and at that time it was just freshman eligibility had just kind of been ruled in. So most programs had really good JV programs because all the freshmen played JV basketball because they couldn't play varsity basketball. So that was kind of established. So I played JV stuff, and you know, it came around the second year, my sophomore year, after the basketball season, going out for baseball, and I felt I had to make a decision one way or the other on what I was going to do, and was struggling a little bit in accounting, so
as we all have,
cost accounting. I don't know what they call it now, but that was cost accounting.
Yeah,
that was a struggle. And I thought, no, I better spend more time in cost accounting than trying to gather up some ground balls that Dwayne Banks used to hit. I tell you what, he was unbelievable with the fungo. Coach Banks. I mean, he'd rocket that thing at you and make it skip and spin, and I mean, he was incredible the way he handled that bat. But so I just played the freshman year as like a JV baseball player and stuff, and concentrated on basketball, and stayed 4 years, earned a scholarship, and you know, was a grad assistant. Coach O got me in coaching, being a grad assistant, and off and running from there.
Yeah, I want to talk about Coach Olson, but I want to go back really quick to you playing 4 sports in high school. You always playing 2 sports in college. You've always been, probably earlier in my career, you could argue that you and I talked more about baseball than basketball. You know, most of our conversations were about baseball in the earlier years, and you've always been a huge fan. You still go to games, and I wanted to ask you, you know, now in today's age, I feel like you see more and more kids being made to choose and being pulled out of so many different sports, and they just focus on one. Do you have a take on that?
That's so true, and it's been happening for a number of years. Even back when my son Drew was, coming up, and he actually played football, quarterback, and then also played basketball, and he was penalized by his high school coaches for playing both. Basketball coach would penalize him, from playing football because he wasn't at every early morning session for basketball because he had football obligations, and vice versa. He wasn't in the weight room lifting, all winter because he was playing basketball. And yet he was much better because he was a captain on the football team playing quarterback and starting at quarterback. And that helped him leadership-wise, taking control of the team from a football standpoint. And it also helped him physically because he was a real skinny kid and, really didn't like physical play in basketball. But the football part of him helped him because you had to be physical in football. Yeah. And that helped him on the basketball court. And I think it's just a huge mistake that parents make, quite honestly. And everybody around it doesn't matter whether it's volleyball or basketball or baseball, they make such a huge mistake because they think that, I'm going to develop my son, my daughter, into a Major League Baseball player, NBA basketball player, whatever it might be, whatever sport it is, when they're 9, 10, 11 years old. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because you can't determine at that age what sport that they'll be physically ready for, mentally best at, and where their skills will develop. And I think you're just much better off playing multiple sports through all those years. But everybody feels that, okay, for basketball, for instance, that once you're at 10, 11, 12 years old, you have to play basketball and only basketball and go to all of the spring tournaments and all of the summer tournaments and everything. And I can see it from one standpoint. You're going to be much better as a basketball player, but that may not be your best sport, and you'll never find a sport that might suit you better if you're only limited when you're 9, 10, 11 into that one. And so I think it's unfortunate that that's the way things have developed along those lines. And you were good enough to play two sports, and I think you enjoyed both sports and had fun. I certainly had fun playing all the various, sports that I was involved in. And I think it's better to be well-rounded. And I think playing the different sports, it's almost the cross-training that goes on really helps you in all sports. Yeah. And it helps you from a mental standpoint. Mm-hmm. And you lose people. You can lose people. There's a coach's son. I won't be specific with it, but there's a coach's son, a very successful coach's son, who I think he was 11, and we were, he was playing baseball, had a fall league, had a winter league, had the spring league, and then played all summer. Yeah. And he played 1 year. He probably played 120 baseball games. That's unreal. Yeah. And that was it. That was it. And he had major league talent. I mean, he was going to be that level of baseball player. But that was it. That was done. He got bored with it, and it was unfortunate because he turned out to be a great basketball player, obviously, but I think he could have been a Major League Baseball player, but it burned him out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's why I played one sport since I was probably 12 or 13 years old.
Eighth grade, wasn't it? Eighth grade when you switched?
Well, so no, it was 7th grade. I stopped because I had this. Yeah, I got sick. So I would have continued to play, but just I don't know. I feel like I see so many kids get forced to specialize and whatever, and it's like, why are you making? He's 11 years old. He's 12 years old. Why are you making him make that decision? You got to figure it. What? I didn't really want to play baseball anymore, anyways, because I didn't like missing basketball tournaments to play baseball. I knew what I wanted to do, but that's not the same for every kid.
Exactly.
And it's I feel like you shouldn't make your kid play something that he doesn't want to play, or just keep just not let them play other things.
Well, and there's so much pressure, internally from parents, from outside, that whether it's baseball, basketball, football, wherever, where I have to do this at 10, 11 years old, 12 years old, to be able to earn a scholarship and play at the collegiate level or play at the high major level or get to the NBA. And they feel that they have to do that. And obviously there's some truth to that. I mean, you have to develop skills. But again, when you're that age, I mean, if there's players that have started playing basketball at 14, 15 years old and turn out to be unbelievable basketball players, so that can happen too. And again, you never find, you probably don't find your niche, quite honestly, because you just go into one track so early in life. And it's so much of the emphasis is about getting to that level, and it's not about, hey, play a sport, enjoy it, have fun, enjoy the camaraderie, and what percentage of people make it to college to play, any sport at 11, 12, 13 years old. Well, that's a small percentage. How many collegians actually go to the professional ranks? Right. 1%, or less. So there's 99% of the people out there that are doing everything they can for, their son or daughter to get at the highest level of whatever sport they're in. And there's a lot of time and effort and money spent that's realistically, that's not going to happen for your child.
No, just let it be on your own terms.
Exactly.
Right? Let it be, because for you, Patrick, you played and you're finally got to that point where you're okay, this, I know what I want to do. And that's what mom and dad were good at that.
And that's great.
Yeah.
If that's if it's child motivated and driven, great. The more time you want to run to the gym, go outside, shoot hoops, get on the golf course and, hitting balls. And if they're driven to do that, that's great. You got to promote that. You got to go with that. But if they're iffy or you're trying to force somebody to do something, then, I let them play something else. Let them enjoy something else.
And as a coach, you look at Coach Ferentz, you look at my dad, you would never hold, Coach Ferentz would never hold anything against a kid if they played two sports. It's actually almost an advantage at times. Coach Ferentz likes two-sport athletes.
He does.
You like two-sport athletes. I'm not going to say the kid's name, but I think my dad went to a baseball game the other day for a recruit. That, it's like that.
Right.
That it's cool.
You do.
You're well-rounded, like you said earlier.
I like people that are involved in the band or playing an instrument or involved in, a musical production at their high school. I just like well-rounded people.
Shout out Luka playing the viola.
Yeah. Exactly.
Luka Garza
exactly.
on the viola player.
And because it shows a broader ability to, incorporate all their skills and things. And I just think, like Coach Ferentz, he likes wrestlers. He likes basketball players. He likes athletes. He likes people that run track. There's a number of baseball players that I think, are playing both football and baseball. And it's exceptionally tough, to try to play two sports at this level. But yet you have to admire, the guys that can do it like yourself. And, I really think it's helpful to have people from different backgrounds. And like I say, you learn a lot from each sport. So it's unfortunate that it's kind of evolved the way it has. And I get it. It's like you go back talking about, you had mentioned, I think, in your last podcast, Patrick, that you get tired of going against the same guy in practice all the time. And I was thinking about that. And when I played and stuff, the coaches couldn't coach us. We couldn't be on the court. A coach couldn't be on the court with a player until October 15th. And then as soon as the season was over, you couldn't be with them on the court. So all you could do from the end of the season, spring, summer, and August and September was weight room. They could be in the weight room with the coach, and we could go watch them in the weight room, and we could condition them. so we would have them out, running hills or whatever we would do. But we couldn't do anything with them basketball. That's where we came from.
That's so crazy to me because like we work out like 3 weeks after the season ends.
Exactly.
We work out till school ends. We get a little break and we come back for the summer, work out all summer, get a break right before school starts again, come back all fall.
And what that does, it helps you with your skills. Mm-hmm. You're better with your skills, but mentally it is such a bigger drain on you mentally
100%
than what it was years ago. And so, again, I think we asked as coaches to have so much more access, for our guys. Well, we need to be able to touch them during the summer, and because a lot of kids never came to summer school, unless they needed it academically to catch up, to be on course for graduation or eligibility issues or something. So you might only have, out of your whole team, you might only have 2-3 people on campus for summer school.
Right.
And nowadays, everybody's on campus all summer long.
Yeah. You don't even have to be in class.
And you don't, and we're practicing. When they first start to implement those rules where we could work in small groups, we could only work in groups of 4 for 4 hours a week on the court. Now we can have practice, all summer long. And so it's good in one way in that you can develop your skills and maybe you start developing your team. But I think mentally there's a cost to it. And there's a cost physically because injuries have gone way up, over the course of time. Yeah. Now you're bigger, you're stronger, you're faster, but you don't give your body as much rest. Yeah. So looking back on it, I'm not so sure we should have as much access on the court with you guys. I think it would be better for you physically to have a few more days off, and certainly it would be better for you mentally because the mental side of it is such a grind, as you guys know. It's a grind for everybody.
No, for sure. Like I remember, like last off season, I came in like I was incredibly motivated, like really wanted to make a big impact. And I don't think I took a day off for probably 6 months.
Right.
Like I think I went in like 7 days a week for 6 months, like no vacations, no anything. Like, and then like I was dealing with like nagging injuries all season.
Exactly.
So it's like, I guess I can't directly relate it to me not taking a day off, but like it was all like little stuff, like knee tendonitis, groin pulls, hip problem. Like it was just like little stuff, like nothing that was going to stop me from playing, although it did a couple of times, but like just kind of like, so it's like, now this offseason, I'm trying to take a different approach. Like, don't worry, like I'm still getting my work in, but it's like just kind of trying to be more efficient with it and be smarter about it.
I think that's a huge key is to be efficient with it. Like I like guys that go in the gym and if they're trying to get a shooting workout in and work on things, I just assume they do it in 45 minutes and get out of there. Mm-hmm. The guys that go in there for 2 hours, well, there's a lot of non-productive time going on when they're in there that long. You can't go at game speed for that long, and be effective. No. And I don't know that there's a whole lot of reason to do anything basketball-wise that's really not game speed. Okay, you shoot some to get in a good rhythm and stuff, but you have to shoot at a speed that you're going to shoot during the game and practice at that speed. Otherwise, it's not going to relate to a high pressure, late closeout, guys 6'8" coming at you, flying at you. You got to be able to get that thing off quick. So
remember what JJ said about his workouts? J.J Redick on his podcast, he said he'll like work out for 18 minutes.
Right.
And like, so it'll be like, he'll dedicate 9 minutes on the left side and 9 minutes on the right side.
Right.
And like for those 9 minutes, like he is busting his ass, like full speed, no joking around. Like he's going, and it's not, I'm just using the 18 minutes thing as an example, but he won't go longer than like 30 or 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. It'll be like 26 minutes on one day. And he has like, it's like completely organized and planned out, kind of like our workout. Like, we know like, okay,
we don't go long.
We don't waste time because we plan it out. It's organized. You've coaches meeting every day and you say, we're going to do this for 8 minutes. And then if we go a minute or two over, okay, we're moving right along. We're getting right into the next thing, and it's organized and it's a fine-tuned schedule.
The other thing that I've noticed in regards to your injuries and stuff, Patrick, and in the NBA level, it used to be get as big and strong as fast as you can be. People are really playing at much lighter weights. They're trying to loosen the load on the legs,
on the knee,
and lighten that up because of injuries, and sometimes I think we should do that more at the collegiate level, and make them fresh and bouncier and that through the course of time. But again, and you guys know it, the grind, you feel like if you're not doing something, you're falling behind,
right?
And so I get that from a mental standpoint
every day,
but yet I think you really have to make sure you're resting your body, and it's you got to take a day off after 3, 4, 5 days, as much as you guys go and how hard you go, especially a 2-sport guy like you are, Connor.
Yeah. This year was the first time I ever took like a significant amount of, like, after the season ended, I didn't touch a ball. The only time I went to Carver was for my end of the year meeting for like 2.5, almost 3 weeks.
Right.
I was like, I just needed to
You have to.
Exactly.
You got to decompress physically and mentally.
That was the mentally was the biggest part for me, like just mentally, emotionally, especially considering like how it ended.
Yeah.
Like it's like I was like,
we went from as high as we could be to as low as you could be in 4 days.
Yeah.
Or 3 days, whatever it was.
Which was really hard for me to process.
Right.
Along with
hard
everybody.
For all of us.
Exactly. Along with everybody. So
everybody.
No, it's just like you just needed a break.
Yep.
Yeah. On that note, let's get back to Coach Olson.
We got very sidetracked
because we did, but no, that was good.
My fault.
No, it was awesome.
That's why we do this. That's good. We wanted to cover all of that stuff. But I'm really interested in your work with Coach Olson and your time on the team, like just everything, tendencies that you stole from him and adapted to your own coaching style when you became a coach. I'm just really. I mean, he's obviously one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, he really was, and he was very down to earth, but he was very specific and particular when I played for him. Mm-hmm. We were not the most athletic team. We were not the biggest team. We weren't the most skilled team, but we were efficient, and so we were a motion team, and so there's moving parts all over. It's not a whole lot different than what we do motion-wise. A few more rules. But, for instance, he really, if we were struggling at all, it was 7 passes. You were not shooting the ball before we passed the ball 7 times.
I love that.
And in those 7 passes, the ball's going to go inside and out, and it's going to go wing to wing, which I've been big. You guys heard me all the time about big being wing to wing, moving the basketball. And, of course, now we're playing without a clock at that point in time, so you were able to do that a little more often, and but we were precise about throwing the ball from outside hand to outside hand, and setting screens on proper angles, and we was very specific about that. And the coaches were Tony McAndrews was one of our assistant coaches, Floyd Theard, 2 of the best minds and in regards to details of the game, defensively, offensively. Jim Rosborough was there too as an assistant, and so Coach was really precise and particular in what he wanted to do in practice. He was very good defensively in what we did. We played man defense, and we had now you could probably call it a matchup zone in a way. And we were really good at those 2 defenses, but what was interesting, and it was funny. He was a really nice guy, but you were like really unsteady and unsure. You really didn't want to go in and meet with him in the office.
Yeah.
He just had that presence, and not that he was going to get on you or do anything about that, because he was pretty mild mannered. He was not a big yeller at all, but he just had that commanding presence. That you were just, you were a little uncomfortable walking into that office. But
chair's a little higher.
All that stuff. And he was a great evaluator of talent and he was a very good recruiter. But that's and we, when like my freshman year, I think we lost to Indiana, who was really good throughout all that time with Coach Knight and stuff. Yeah. We lost by 40 at home our freshman year. But when we were seniors, we beat Indiana by 40 at home. So in that course of my time, 3-4 years, I mean, we really turned things around. And, we won a co-Big Ten championship regular season my senior year. Ronnie Lester was, I think, the best point guard in the country, at that time, and he was a year behind me. And but he was terrific, and Coach gave him all kinds of freedom. On other guys, he wouldn't give them a whole lot of freedom.
Right.
So he was, you played your role. And he told you what your role was, and he expected you to play your role to the best of your ability. And that's the way we won. That's the way we competed. And it was interesting years later when he left and went to Arizona, and he was able to recruit a different kind of player.
Right.
All of a sudden, he wasn't that way.
Yeah.
He gave it to the guards and let them go create. And we'd see he would take all of our staff out, at the Final Four. All of his current coaches, all of his former coaches, anybody that was affiliated in the office. Every Final Four, there'd be Thursday night dinner with Coach O. And I used to give him the business all the time. I said, man, you restricted us. And you're letting these guys just play and flow. And what's the deal? But he changed with the times.
Yeah.
He changed with the times and was very effective.
Yeah. Okay, with that, we're going to have more on Coach Olson after this quick break. Teed Up is brought to you in part by Vibrant Credit Union, now offering a truly radical investing idea.
It's crypto, isn't it?
Good news, it's definitely not crypto. Right now, Vibrant's Yellow Money Market account pays up to 1.15% APY. That just may be the best money market rate available right now. If you're going to need a lot of cash soon, say you're saving up for a down payment or getting ready to pay next year's tuition, Vibrant's Yellow Money Market is a risk-free way to grow your savings just a little faster. Plus, you can withdraw your money at any time.
So, it's a savings account that actually earns money?
This idea is too crazy to stick around for long, so get the details at vibrantcreditunion.org/moneymarket. Some restrictions apply.
Hey Connor, I went into Kimball and Beecher Family Dentistry the other day for a cleaning. Was your experience as good as mine?
Yes, it definitely was. I went in, immediately they got me in. I was in and out within 30 minutes tops. It was pain-free. The doctors were great. The dentists were great. I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. They told me I had great teeth, and everybody was super helpful. So shout out to Kimball and Beecher Family Dentistry.
Yeah, they told me I had great teeth as well, so maybe it was just a thing.
No,
maybe they were lying to
I
us.
think I have better teeth, but anyway.
Okay. Well, it was a great experience either way. Yeah. So thank you to them, Kimball and Beecher. The Summit Bar and Grill has the best DJs in Iowa City. They routinely bring in DJs from all over the U.S. and Europe, and we have one of their very own working with us here at the pod.
Shout out Marcos,
Shout out, and he's the man. He's the man. This is definitely the place to be after a big win. Definitely going to catch some of us there. Summit, they also just dropped a new food menu. They serve food Tuesday through Saturday starting at noon. The homemade fried chicken sandwich is out of this world. But again, just want to emphasize it is a great place to go after big wins, and mainly to do with the DJ, Marcos, our guy here, but also a lot to do with our guy Brad. He takes care of us. So shout out to him. Thank you to him.
And we are back with episode 17 of Teed Up with my co-host and special guest, Coach Speraw. Coach, kind of continuing to go off of our conversation about Coach Olson, what would you say were some things that you took from him and really kind of honed them in onto how you wanted to coach and what you wanted to have your program run like?
Well, running a program, the oversight, the overview that he had about the program, the type of players that he would recruit, people with high character that were very good and skilled basketball players, and he wanted skilled guys. He didn't just want guys that were limited in what they could do. The preciseness that he organized practice, just like we do. I mean, it's, we're going to play 5 minutes on this, and then we got 7 minutes on this, and, and he would start every practice. We would do individual work early in practice, and I think we did ball handling maybe every day. And then you break down into your guard group, your forward group, and your center group, and you work. One day it'd be some offensive things, another day it'd be some defensive things. So you get your individual work and your group work done in the first, half hour of practice or whatever, and then you're going to work on your offenses and defenses and schemes. But he was very precise in how he approached practice. So I picked that up. Scouting, the same thing. We had a lot of film work. Reel to reel back then, which took forever. Yeah, we couldn't just pick out whatever clips that we wanted, but it was the family atmosphere around his program, and the ability to really do all facets of coaching. It's not just on the court things that you're doing. There's so much off the court, whether it's recruiting, whether it's having your campus visits, your home visits. Your communication at that time just on the phone, and your mail outs and that type of thing. And, but, how he handled the press and doing things with that. And, it was, and he would take your opinion, you really didn't think that he would, but like when he, gave me the opportunity to be a grad assistant coach. One of the first things he did, and there was at the old field house, there was Radio Row, which was on the second deck. It was overlooking on the second deck, and you had a different view of the court up there. Mm-hmm. And it was like being in the press box for football. And so he wanted me up there the first half of games. And I thought, oh, well, this is interesting, because he wanted to just see what the spacing was, if there's playing zone, what are the open gaps. He thought you could see it a little bit better up there and that type of thing. And I thought, okay, that's kind of different. I really hadn't noticed that. But he asked me the first question walking into the locker room at halftime every game. Kirk, what'd you see from up there? Mm-hmm. And so he took that input, and whether I saw something that was pretty, relevant, or sometimes I didn't really see anything different than the normal stuff, but he would take that input and goes. But I think the biggest thing is how to interact with people and how to have a broad view of your program and everything that was involved in being a coach.
Yeah, hearing you talk about him the way that you have, it's definitely. It's clear now what values shine that shine from him. Right. Like you can tell, and honestly, it kind of sounds like there's some similarities to my dad as well. And you talked about like the type of players you recruit, high character mm-hmm. guys, skilled guys who can do multiple things. So I wanted to go into that next. When you go recruit, I've heard you talk about recruits. I've heard you talk about a lot of the way you talk about players when you are doing your scouts. You're very technical. You are down. You study them, and it's and that's the way it should be. But I'm just curious in what are the main things you look for when you go and you're recruiting?
Well, and you're right. There were a lot of similarities how your dad approaches things and how Coach O does, and also Lon Kruger. I'll throw Lon Kruger into that because I was 3 years with him at the University of Florida, and there's similarities, across the board in how they interact with people and the type of people they recruit, and bring into your basketball family, right? And I think all of us kind of approach it that way. Yeah. When I'm on the road recruiting and looking at people, obviously. You're looking at body language and signs of what kind of character does this individual have, right? And so I always try to get, if I have an opportunity, get there early to see how they're walking into a gym. Do do they come in with a purpose in mind, or are they joking around, or are they fooling around, or are they doing something silly and stupid, or are they locked into the game and getting ready for the game and getting themselves ready to play, to how they're doing things in warm-ups. But then once you get to the game, how do they interact with their coach? What are they doing in huddles? How are they interacting with officials? How do they handle adversity? Those are all things that I'm looking at, as well as how well do they run? How physical are they? How high do they jump? But their skill set and their understanding of the game.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we as a staff, quite honestly, I think that's where we identify a lot of players and notice what they could be in 2 or 3 years, where a lot of other people are looking at a list of names that are ranked,
right,
1 through 100 in the country, and okay, I'll recruit those guys. I'd be the last guy to ask, where does somebody rank in the recruiting rankings?
Yeah.
I really don't pay a whole heck of a lot of attention, because
you don't care.
I don't care. I don't care. Because the guy who's ranked number 12 may not fit what we do, and he might be a really talented player, and it's not a player that would fit our organization. And I just saw one, this spring. Yeah. I'm not going to name names, but I mean, he is a national phenomenon. And I watched him 3 games, and that was the first time I'd ever seen him. And I didn't even know who he was the first game.
Right.
And I came away after, he would not fit with what we do.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And there's other guys, out there that I'll be the only high major coach on a court watching a guy that I really like, and because he's long, he's lanky, he's got skills, he can play, he's versatile, can play all over the floor, can handle, pass, and shoot it, which you have to be able to do in what we do offensively. And so I just have a different view on and trying to pick out guys that, fit what we do, and we'll develop over the course of time. And sometimes we're right, and sometimes we miss a little bit, And a lot of that gets to the point of, and this is the hardest thing to evaluate, because we want competitive guys.
Right.
That's critical, that we have competitive guys. And you go there and you try to see how competitive a guy is, and you ask the high school coach, how competitive is Joey? Well, yeah, he's really competitive. But then when you get Joey on your campus and you have him every day, well, he's not as competitive as what we need him to be.
Right.
So it's a difference of opinion and evaluation of what a high school coach or an AAU coach says somebody's competitive with what we have to have them,
right,
from a competitive standpoint. So and that's one of the hardest things. And also, how do they accept coaching? And how do they pick up things? I mean, we run motion and we fast break and we go hard, but we also have, how many plays do we have? I have no idea.
We have a lot.
We got a lot of plays.
Hundreds, probably.
And so, when we come into a practice and we put in 4 or 5 looks on the half court and man-to-man one day, can that individual pick it up? And sometimes that's really hard to evaluate unless you go into their practice, and most high school programs aren't going to have that kind of stuff that they're putting in. So the competitive edge and their feel for the game and how quickly they can pick up things are some of the most difficult things to really evaluate.
Yeah. How many times have people come up to you and why doesn't so and so play? Oh, because he doesn't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
He doesn't know, he can't play because, and this, I'm just talking about over time, teammates in AAU, high school, college, we call a set with a minute and a half to go and we got a weird lineup and Joey's got to play the 4. Does he know,
right,
I don't know, motion out, something we put in practice for just this game that we went over once or twice. Does he know what we're doing? And a lot of the times the answer is no. And that's the difference in guys. Why does he not play? Well, that's why.
It's a big difference. And the casual fan, that's not there every day in practice. You know, they don't understand that. They see a guy run and jump high, or, you know, shoot the ball from way out, or make a dribble move that's really, really quick, but they don't see all the other things that individual does not do that eliminates him from getting more playing time.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to go into now the differences between being a head coach and then how you made adjustments to being an assistant, because you're a very good head coach, but you're also a very good assistant coach. So what are some of those differences, some things, whether it's relationships with the players, what relationships with other coaches, scouting differences, just anything?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it is different, you know, and I think, well, coaching's coaching, but there's different pressures that a head coach has than an assistant coach has. Yeah. And you know, and I was fortunate to learn under some really good coaches, as I mentioned, Coach O and Coach Kruger in particular. And, you know, so I had a great background there. And then as a head coach, it's great in one way, because obviously you're controlling in how you want to do things, how you want to approach things, what you want to run offensively, what you want to do defensively. And it's on your shoulders. Hey, it works, great, awesome. And it doesn't work, well, that was a bad decision by me, and you know, that type of thing. And so, but the pressures, you know, it's like, you know, okay, we've got 2 really good kids that we're recruiting, and I've got to make a decision, which one do I want to really get? Yeah. You know, and you're wrestling with that all night long. And okay, I've got this athletic board meeting tomorrow morning, you know, that I've got to talk about our program, and I've got to promote our program, but we really got to get the board to get it on our game plan on what we need to get done, and you know, dealing with the media as a head coach every single day, you know, and after games and before games, and you're on the radio and your radio shows, and so you're pulled so many different directions as a head coach that you're not pulled as an assistant coach. So there's just, it's like when I was an assistant at Florida, I was in pretty good shape, you know, and we would go out at lunch, and you know, Mike Shepard and I, we'd run 4 miles, you know, every lunch hour. That would be our lunch, and we'd run it and get back in 45 minutes or whatever, and take a shower, and we're back in the office, you know, getting at it. So I was really good shape. Then I got the head coach at Central Florida, and I didn't have that hour, right? You know, to go do stuff, and you know, so
no more miles.
I am not in very good shape anymore. That's one thing I got to do a better job of.
Can't do drinks.
But at the same time, you know, you're getting it from a lot of different directions. As an assistant, you can make suggestions, and you don't have to wrestle with what the decision's going to be. You know, right? And so that's good. You can sleep a little bit better at night as an assistant coach than you can as a head coach. But then you miss out, you know, on some of the, you know, suggestions that you like to make, and some are accepted and some aren't. Right. And that's the job of the head coach. And, you know, and sometimes when they're not accepted, you go, oh, geez, I wish we could do that, you know, and that type of thing. So it's there's good and bad in each position, you know, quite honestly. And you know, I was fortunate to be in this business this long. And the thing I just keep thinking back in regards to how long I've been in this business is, you know, I could have had a, you know, 8 to 5 job. Right. I mean, I've made a living coaching the game of basketball that we all love. Right. So that's pretty neat. That's
pretty cool. Yeah. And you've had, I mean, ultimate success in both head coach and assistant, a lot of success. So I want to give Patrick the floor here, because I know you wanted to talk about coach's scouts.
Coach's
film sessions.
Here we go.
Yeah, coach.
Which, hold on, no, I'm going to go first and say, by the way, they're as diligent and thorough as anybody, and there's so much that goes into them. But Go.
Well, so, okay, before we even get into the scouts, I want to talk about like the individual film sessions that when I was a younger player, you and I had pretty frequently of just like where you would break down practice, you'd break down the games. And like, I don't think people don't realize this, but like every game you break it down and you like every game. I don't know if you do every practice. Pretty sure you do most practices, if not every practice.
I probably do most practices until we get to games.
Yeah.
Then I don't have time to break down every practice because I'm breaking down games or I'm preparing my scout for the next scout.
Exactly.
That I might have.
Right. So you break down every practice and you put like you flag every play and you clip it for like each individual player.
Right.
And so it's like if I jump to the ball or whatever on this, you flag it, and then like I go in with you and you pull up the reel and it's like Patrick of 9-4, whatever. And then it's like you talk about it. And it's like those are all my clips from that day.
Right.
And like so you do that for every practice up until we start playing games, and you do it for every game. And like that's kind of like it's pretty crazy behavior. Like that's a lot of work. Like that's a lot like that like talk about details. Like that's about as detailed as it gets. So just kind of like have you always done stuff like that, or just kind of speak to where that kind of came from?
Well, I've done it as an assistant. As a head coach, I didn't have as much time. But if there was a player that I was struggling with, or he didn't have an understanding of what I was trying to get him to do, I would do it. And it wouldn't be for everybody on the team as a head coach, but it would be, some particular guys, out of my top 7 or 8 or something like that. But I've tried to do it. I do that for every player, and I try to have you guys come in on your own. It doesn't always happen. I got to pull guys in a lot because it gets a little tedious from your guys' standpoint, and I get that. But I think it's a great – there's no better teacher than film and seeing yourself on film. And I try to make it as positive as I can, although you got to make corrections on the things that players don't do to make them better individually so that we can be better collectively.
Right.
And so I do that younger when they're freshmen and sophomores.
I was in there a lot
more
when I was young.
At that point in time. And to have you see yourself on the court. And also at different times, hey, what do you see here? This is the decision you made on this play. What other things do you see that you could have done? Not that what you did was wrong, but I just wanted to have you see all of the options and stuff. And I just think that's the best teaching tool that we have. And the guys that took advantage of it, were made great strides, and other guys didn't take quite as much advantage of it, and they struggled. And it does take a lot of work. And there was even a year that I actually voiced over some of that stuff. So I had to do it. Then I had to rewatch each one and voice it over. And then I would send it to them. And it took too much time. I didn't have time to do that.
That's unbelievable.
So every night, and Tracy would be my wife, and she's nuts because I'm downstairs every night. I'm watching on my laptop, editing things, picking out clips to show, whether it's for individuals or for the team scout that I'm getting ready for, and I'm probably got a game up on the TV watching theirs too. So I'm up and down. And
what are your sleep hours during the season?
Depends if it's my scout or not.
Let's go if it's your scout, and then if it's not.
Well, I'm probably during the season, I'm certainly up past midnight for sure.
Okay.
And then probably in the office, as soon as I can wake up. I need sleep though.
Okay.
I need sleep. I can't get by on 4 hours of sleep very often.
Okay.
Now I can do a night like last summer. I had a day where I got up at 4 a.m. and this was in September recruiting, I think. No, it was July. It was July recruiting. And I got up to catch a early morning flight, so I was up at 4. Then I had some travel problems coming back through Chicago. My flight was canceled, so I had to drive home. And I actually got into bed at 2. So I had a 22-hour day,
Hell of a day.
on one day.
Yeah.
But that was a recruiting trip. That wasn't, a scouting thing. But no, I would, like, for instance, we would play at Ohio State. We're playing on the road. We play a night game. Say it's an 8 o'clock game. So we're done. We get out of there, maybe 11?
Yeah.
At the earliest.
At the earliest,
11:30,
11 o'clock.
11:30, something like that. So we're flying home. So let's say the flight leaves at 12. It's hour and 20. So we get home. Let's just say we got home at 1:30. Okay. Yep. So I walk in the door at 1:30. I watched our game at Iowa State on the plane home.
Watch on the plane back.
And then I would go and watch it again before I went to sleep to pick all of the individual clips out.
Yeah.
So like I'm watching it with Coach McCaffery on the way home because we're picking clips for the team. And then when I got home at 1:30, then I would go back and watch it again and pull all the individual clips for each player after that. So
I'm just picturing you. I see you at practice, and you're like you'll be talking, but then you turn around and you have like your eye drops, and you have to like put and I don't know what. Maybe you have allergies. I don't know what they're
I do have allergies.
But I'm picturing that like. He's watched so much film.
Yeah, that would be
needs
true.
These eye drops to keep
my
his
contacts
eyes
are
open.
dry. My contacts are dry.
Exactly.
It needs some lubrication.
That's what and that's the way that I convince myself. It's like Coach has watched so much film over these past 48 hours that he physically can't keep his eyes open at practice anymore.
What's really hard is when you don't have many days, or if you have a back-to-back scout, which we all have at different times.
Yeah.
And so I haven't been able to do as much work as I'd like to. And maybe it's a scout where they're running a whole bunch of new stuff. Like Tom Crean at Indiana, I had his scouts. But every time I would watch a game of Tom Crean's, and I would go back, a minimum of, 9 or 10 games, but I'd go back even farther if I had time to do that. Well, in those 9 games previous to when we're going to play them, he would probably have a minimum of 3 to 5 plays every game that were new or a new wrinkle to their play.
Yeah.
So to try to document that as I'm pulling clips for everything, it gets a little hectic at times, especially when I'm on a time crunch.
Coach Crane he was my coach at Adidas Nations when I was a sophomore, and you want to talk about details.
That guy.
Every aspect of everything.
Well, you remember when we go play them and practice on their court, they got lines all over the place.
Yeah.
Because they had driving lanes on this angle, and so they had all the tape down.
Yeah.
So that they knew what angle to drive at.
Yeah.
When they were spread out and they had a drive and kick and all that stuff.
Yeah. I remember we were out. My roommate was Matthew Hurt, and we get on the elevator at 7 a.m. where it's the 4th day of camp. We're exhausted. We're getting there to eat breakfast, and then we have to go play the Path team, which had Zion Williamson, Darius Garland,
pros.
Like they had 12 pros. Emmanuel Quickly, all these guys. And Zion, and so we get on the elevator, and of course, there's Coach Crean, and he goes, so me and Matthew's half asleep, and I'm pretty much half asleep as well. And we get on the elevator, and Coach Crean goes he doesn't even say good morning. He's like, how are we gonna keep Zion off the free throw line?
7 a.m.
We woke up 5 minutes ago, and he's like, how are we gonna keep Zion off the free throw line? He shoots 18 free throws a game. How are we gonna keep him off the foul line? And so then of course Matthew's not going to answer.
No, he's not answering.
Matt looks at him like he's got 4 hits, so then it falls on me to answer. I'm like, well, coach, pretty hard to stop. I don't really know.
He's a pretty big dude.
Yeah, and it's that just kind of speaks to how Coach Crean was wired.
Well, he'd come out, he'd walk out before the game, and then he'd open up his folder on the table, and he's got just all kinds of information there that he was referring to all the time during the game.
Yeah.
It's
I'm convinced he doesn't sleep.
No, there's no way he sleeps.
No,
probably.
He's one of those guys that can get by on minimal sleep. I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah.
I need sleep. I'm more along the lines of Patrick McCaffery. I need sleep.
You both need your sleep.
I need my sleep bad.
You guys both do.
I'm tired right now. We just got back from Vegas.
I want to. I feel like we could keep going, but I want to ask one more question. When you take this past year's team and championship team, won the Big Ten championship, you've been a part of so many other successful teams throughout your coaching career and your playing career. If there are a couple things that stick out about all of them, some similarities between teams you've played on or coached, what are those? Like the championship teams, the teams that win 25, 30 games, and the ones that you know what I'm asking.
Yeah, they're competitive. Mm-hmm. They have competitive individuals that hate to lose. They're motivated, and they were motivated from the year before in some fashion. And so they worked really hard in the off season, both individually and collectively as a team. And they were together, you know, and you have to have leadership in there. You know, you can't have, and it's got to be leadership that is moving pretty much in the same direction. You can't have a leader going this direction and another leader going that direction, because there can be multiple leaders on a team. Yeah. And you got to be moving in the same direction for the most part. Not that you're agree on everything. Right. I mean, basketball teams are, you know, they're a family, and there's arguments in a family. We all go through that. But when it's, okay, we've had our argument, now we got to come together, and now we got to move forward. Yeah. And teams are able to do that. And it's also knowing how to play together, you know, and having a good feel for the game of basketball, where, and it's got to be teammate led, player led. You know, it can't, everything leadership wise can't always be coming from the bench. You know, it has to be the players out on the court, because there's so much that goes on, and there's a few breaks every so often. And it's not like football where you get to huddle up and you call a play and, you know, you can get organized. You might only have the dead ball from a turnover to inputting it to the inbounder, and here we go. Right. And there's 8 seconds there that you can communicate to your team what you're going to run, how you're going to execute, or how you're going to motivate a teammate to slide his feet, stay down in stance, and, you know, guard the ball, you know. And, you know, so a lot of that leadership is motivating each other, as well as, you know, the X and O side of it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's the best teams are together, and they're player led. Yeah, you've mentioned the ultra competitive guys multiple times, and I completely agree. And I'm just curious, is there any group of guys or players like somebody like Luka, like, you know, the ultimate competitors, the ones that like stick out in your head, like the guys that just, you know, and there's so many, you know, through the years, but and there's so many at UCF that were good. But in regards to Iowa, you know, I think back to, and I tell this to recruits a lot of times, and you know, Adam Woodbury and Mike Gazelle, and not one time did you have to say to either one of them, hey, we can work a little bit harder. You know, they from the day they stepped on campus, from a work ethic standpoint and a mental focus, those two guys, you know, were ready. And sometimes, you know, kids making that transition to high school to college, they're not quite ready. Right. Not quite ready mentally, or not quite ready physically, you know, and Adam takes, you know, when he was here, he took a lot of grief. Right. You know, and yet he was so key to turning this program around and getting us to a point where we could be really competitive on a national level because of his intelligence. And, I mean, he would devour a scouting report as well as anybody. I mean, you do a great job of devouring a scouting report. But, I mean, he was tremendous at that. So I look at those two guys. I look at Luka Garza. I mean, he would punish people in practice. Destroy. But, you know, and I'm going to say this. And Luka Garza was really good because of Ryan Kriener. Yeah. Ryan Kriener went back at Luka Garza every single day in practice. you know, and you know, as we look back, I think we all feel like we wish we would have redshirted Ryan as a freshman.
Yeah.
Ryan's,
you know,
100% one of the most underrated players
No
in
question.
my dad's
Ryan was
tenure
so
here.
good.
No question.
So good, dude. He
No
was so
question.
good.
And he wasn't. He made himself better over the course of his time here. You know, he wasn't quite ready as a freshman. He was ready to play some, you know, and compete. And he was unfortunate in his time here because he was here the same time Luka was, and that was unfortunate for him. And yet he was so competitive and played so hard and competed so hard. But think of the moves he made his junior and senior years compared to what he was doing as his freshman year. Yeah. Sometimes he'd do something offensively his freshman year. It's like, Ryan, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
But yet, junior, senior year,
effective.
His footwork and everything was superb.
Yeah.
I mean, he was tremendous.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, there's others that, you know, during our time, I mean, you're really tough and competitive. You know, like I said, Matt Gatens is a guy that was really tough and worked hard. You know, shoot, Eric May was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, go through, I mean.
No, yeah, the list goes on. I was just curious because I feel like that word is, you know, kind of like a buzzword of the show, I guess, tonight has been competitiveness, and that's because I completely agree. Like, you got to have guys that, like, at the end of the day, losing is not, you know, that's going to hurt the most, because if you're more focused on the scoring and selfish reasons about minutes, and, you know, at the end of the day, it's got to come down to, like, okay, no, like, we need to win. Yeah, we got to win, and that's got to be. You could score 0 points and play 30 minutes. You could score 20 points and play the whole game and lose. You're not going to be as happy as the other game, and that's the competitive drive.
And the other part of that too, and being competitive drive, and you know, it's how you handle adversity or how you handle injuries and stuff like that. So another guy, as far as a toughness standpoint, that comes back to me is Jordan.
Yeah,
Jordan Bohanna is one of the toughest guys,
absolutely, in
regards to playing through injuries. Mm-hmm. You know, and people don't know how hurt he always was. Yeah. You know, with plantar fasciitis, with his hips and shoulder injuries that still bother him, and he's hurt right now. Yeah. I mean, he's going to have surgery Friday. Yeah. You know, because he's hurt, and he's playing hurt that none of us knew. Right. None of us knew during the season. You know, at the end of the season. So you know, guys like that play through all of that stuff, and you know, you got to be pretty tough to do that stuff too. Find
a way to get on the court. Yeah, and it's about being smart too. Like you said, Patrick, the way that you attacked last offseason was good from a certain standpoint, but now you've more experienced and you learn from that. He's like, okay, hey, like I need to back off a little bit because these things bothered me the whole time. Like you can't be doing this, and you're good. You're getting on the court. You're battling through things, but you need to be able to make an adjustment, and you've been more experienced, and you learned from it, and now it's a huge
because you always feel like I got to be out there doing something. I got to be out there. See, Mike Gazelle is a great example of just what we're talking about. He would be hurt, and he would just feel like, you know, through a stress reaction, well, I'll just play through a stress reaction. Well, no, that's going to get you at some point in time. Yeah. You know, I mean, I remember, you know, almost yelling at him one time. You know, our season was over. I said, listen, you cannot absolutely do anything for 3 weeks. Nothing. You can't shoot. Can't do it, you know. Now, I'm sure he didn't listen to me. But, you know, he was just that mindset. I have to do stuff all the time. You know, and Josh Dick's coming in, quite honestly, he's got to be able to handle that. Yeah. You know, with his recovery here, it's going to be critical that he pushes himself to a point, but doesn't do more than what he should to get him back, you know, healthy and 100% ready to go, you know, by the time the season comes around, which he can do that, but you don't want to overdo it either.
That's always the balance that you got to try to find. Like, exactly. you want to, like, I want to get better. I want to be in, but it's like, then at what point are you overdoing it, right? To where, like,
economics, man. It's the law of diminishing returns.
Oh, yeah, I actually do know what that is.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I do know what that is.
Absolutely.
You talked about it
before.
The
law of diminishing returns. Yeah. That's going to be that's a wrap. We really appreciate you coming on, Coach. Thank you so much. We could keep going, but we don't want to take too much time. You know, we know you got you got big plans.
I don't have
We got-
film work to do tonight.
No film
though.
tonight.
No, not
so
tonight.
We got to have you back on then once the season starts, because I know even though you won't be on the sidelines, I'm sure you're still going to be
I'll be at
watching
practice.
games and you're going to come to practice.
I'll be yelling
and-
from the sideline.
Yeah, you'll be around. But thank you so much for joining
Stay down.
us.
Stay down.
Exactly. We still need that. But no, thank you. And with that,
That's not only directed at you, Patrick.
That's everybody.
That's directed at a lot of people.
it's everybody.
Makes
me
me feel
too.
better. Makes me feel better.
It's everybody. But yeah, no, that's it. Episode 17, success. Thanks, Coach. And one more word from our sponsors.
Are you looking for a unique educational experience or a distinctive marketing piece? How about your very own barrel of whiskey? Iowa-based Foundry Distilling Company is the industry leader in producing custom whiskey at their site, myprivatebarrel.com. Foundry has worked with individuals, businesses, groups of friends, social clubs, bars and restaurants, and charitable organizations to produce custom labeled spirits for marketing purposes, fundraising, celebrating milestones, or just for fun. Check out myprivatebarrel.com to get started. Enjoy a memorable experience, receive a great whiskey education, and create a custom labeled spirit that celebrates you, your business, or whatever you feel like toasting to. Get started at myprivatebarrel.com. That's myprivatebarrel.com. Cheers and go Hawks.
With the college basketball season now officially over, this is the time people turn their attention to filing taxes. People always have a lot of questions about their taxes. Maybe you're wondering if there's anything you can do to owe less taxes. Maybe you've got a little extra cash, you want to put it away for retirement, but you're not sure how. Maybe you're a student athlete with some NIL money and you want to be smart with what you have after paying taxes.
Wait, we have to pay taxes?
Everyone is looking for someone they can trust to provide answers and a game plan to help them make the right decisions with their money for today and in the future. So if you just want to know if you're on the right path or if you haven't even started down a path at all, reach out to an advisor at Lane Family Wealth Management. They offer free phone, online, and in-person consultations. Call 319-535-4525 in Eastern Iowa or 515-322-7971 anywhere else in the U.S.
Yo, Kono with the rebound, they got 8 seconds to go. Move the ball right up the court, yeah, you know they ready to roll. Hit the outlet, pass to Patrick, put a move on them so tragic. Yeah, you don't want no static, McCaffery boys, they be like magic. This shit back to Connor, yeah, you know these boys is hooping. Hit him with the alley, yeah, you know he straight up hooped it. Now Patrick's hanging on the rim, yeah, he's got his feet up. Excessive celebration, McCaffery boys, they done got teed up. Oh man, they got teed up.